Ronnie. Ladies and gentlemen, could I have your attention, please? Thank you. We're about to commence tonight. Thank you. That's excellent. Well done. For the 2 or 3 people that know me, I'm Tim Crow, a lifelong friend of Ronnie's, and I've been asked to become MC tonight, which is a fabulous honour. Now, if anybody out there that would like this job, you can still come forward and take over. I have no problem, and I can actually give you the suit if you want it as well, if it fits. Here's the man himself, Ronnie. Thanks, Ronnie. I'm going to read this because I want to get it out properly so that I don't make a bags of it. It won't take long, but I think it's important that I read it so I do it properly. I would like to welcome everybody here tonight to Ronnie's book lunch. I know that each and every one of you have your own Ronnie story or stories. Most likely, in many cases, it's about Ronnie's driving. Over the years, I've come to the conclusion that one's personality is reflected by the way they drive a car. Think about it. Think about it in relation to Ronnie. Full of energy. Let's get on with it. A risk taker. Cut out the shadow boxing, etc. Isn't that Ronnie? Yeah, I think it is. Now, reflect on yourself. Does your driving reflect your personality? Probably. My friendship with Ronnie goes back to the North Munster Sports in Glenstall in 1971. I had just won the Senior 400 as an unknown when Ronnie introduced himself, and as a result, I was a Limerick Athletic member within a year. Ronnie played a huge role in my career, like so many here tonight. Ronnie and Bernie attended my wedding. Myself and Niall O'Shaughnessy were travelling to Dublin one June, I think, Ronnie, when he had to make a few calls being a Matterson's rep, and he stopped in Portarlington to get the message that his dad had died. And it was a heartbreaking moment for Ronnie, but we were present that day, myself and Niall. Unfortunately, as we know, Niall has moved on as well. So over the last 40 years, we have travelled to various athletic meetings in Cork, Dublin, Athlone, etc., with one important stipulation, that I did the driving this time. I won't delay you, but I would like to express my interpretation of Ronnie's book. As I went through it over the last few days, it's strikingly obvious that it should be subtitled The Memoirs of Ronnie and Bernie Long. Yeah, thank you. Bernie played a massive role in the Long household and had a huge positive influence in Ronnie, Barry, Karen and Alan's lives. Today it's clear that their independent minds has developed as a result of the many family discussions that took place, in particular the time that was given to the children to express their opinions. The values in life of equality, fairness and courage to express an unpopular opinion was nourished in Ballysimon by Bernie and Ronnie. Before we proceed with tonight's, let us pause for a moment to remember the real star of tonight, Bernie McCabe Long. Thank you. The first speaker tonight is Alan Ward of UL Sports, who sponsored the occasion tonight. So could we have Alan Ward, please?
Hello, everybody. I've been asked by the Long family to say a few words on behalf of the University of Limerick Sports Department. It's my honour to do so, and I'll start by saying that it is our absolute privilege and our pleasure to be associated with this evening. We jumped at the chance, and Ronnie, we wouldn't have it any other way. Ronnie means the world to us at UL Sport, and it is important that you know, Ronnie, how much we recognise and appreciate your immense contribution to sport, not just athletics, and how much we value what you have done locally, nationally and internationally. We're thrilled that you have finished the book, finally, because I'm hearing about this book for the last 25 years. The Holy Bible itself took less time to complete, but then again, there are more stories in Ronnie Long's back catalogue than the Old Testament and the New Testament put together. We believe that he's already started on Volume 2, The Long and Winding Road, and that Brad Pitt has already been signed up to star as Ronnie in the Hollywood blockbuster, but it's just a pity they couldn't get somebody as good looking as Ronnie for the role. For those present who are not fortunate enough to come from or to reside in Limerick, you should know that Ronnie has been such a key figure on our campus throughout the decades, through Thomond College, the National Coaching and Training Centre, the university itself, the UL Sport Arena, the multiples of clubs that utilise our facilities, and the events that go on, like student games, world medical games, community games, intervarsities, the prestigious Harvard and Yale meet, and the list goes on and on and on. Your impact on sport on our campus in particular, and the profile that you've helped bring to us, has been immense, and we thank you for it. We owe you, Ronnie, a debt of gratitude that we can never repay. You're part of the very fabric of UL Sport, and we're so pleased that we have played a part in your story the same way that you have played a part in ours. Congratulations to you and your family on the book. We wish you every success with it. I've had a sneak preview, multiple sneak previews actually in my office. It's well worth the read. It's a fantastic gift. Purchase it. Purchase it for your friends. It's a great stocking filler for Christmas as well. And Ronnie, the very best luck to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. Absolutely fabulous tribute being paid by Alan from UL. Now, Barry, have we got a message from Frank O'Mara?
Hey, Ronnie. Sorry I can't be there tonight.
While we're waiting, just a big thank you to all those people who travelled from all over Ireland today, and in particular from guys like Danny McDade, who's present from Donegal. It's been phenomenal, and we really appreciate your presence, Danny. So well done to you.
You've always been a stalwart.
the best laid plans can go awry. I'd like to thank Liam O'Hora, who's travelled all the way from Ballyclough and Limerick as well.
Hey, Ronnie. Sorry I can't be there tonight for your wonderful night. You've been a great friend to me for many, many years. You drove me all over the country in your car when I was a young kid. Drove me when I was an older kid. You gave me Madison sausages to take back to America with me. You gave me good advice down through the years. You've always been a stalwart on my side, and I greatly appreciate you. And I think your memories were due to be memorialized because you've got so many great experiences, both with cycling and rugby and athletics. And of course, to a great wife, Bernie, who would be thrilled for you tonight. But I was talking to Rafa before about you in the studio, and I remember clearly the time that Marcus and I were on the radio with you, and you were going on and on about some nonsense that we had no interest in. So we left the studio, outside the window looking at you, laughing at you. But you can talk for Ireland, and you filibustered until we came back into the studio. So we got our one over you, but you really got your one over us because you can talk and talk and talk. And that's what's so great about this book. All the stories we've heard for so many years are encapsulated in it. And it would be a great read for anybody who gets their hands on that book. So congratulations, Ronnie. It's a great tribute to you and to your family. And well done to Karen and Barry for doing so much hard work, and to Kevin for helping you with the writing. Take care and good night.
Isn't that fabulous for a guy like Frank O'Mara to make such an effort to honour our guest tonight? But like everybody else, it's payback time for what Ronnie has done for so many people here tonight. And I think you're all here for a particular reason, because you owe Ronnie. And I think that's quite obvious speaking to everybody as we came. So I now call on the man himself, Ronnie Long. Rodney Sidney Long, is that right? Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank each and every one of you for your attendance this evening. I'm very honoured to see so many people here, and this is my stick falling. So I'm very honoured to see so many people here, and I trust that you will enjoy the read in the book. I must thank Kevin McCarthy, who has done all the hard work and put all the words together. And I think he's expressed my viewpoints very well. And Kevin has an unbelievably good writing skill. And when you read it, I think that'll be the first thing that will strike you. Kevin has been a good friend of mine for a good number of years, and he's been a great contributor to a lot of things in his life as in education, and also in his life in his interest in sport. It's great to have such good friends, and I think you'll find when you sit down to read the book that he has done a very good job in relating the growth of Irish athletics since the formation of BLE on the 15th of April 1967, And that was a great day for Irish sport. Up to that date, you've got to remember, there was no women competing in Irish athletics. And it took a couple of years for us to break the barriers, and that was done. And now look at the success. And there's many of those very great women athletes here tonight. And thanks for all of what you've done. And for the ones who are not here, we have to appreciate very much. But our sport has grown, it continues to grow, and I feel that a lot of people here tonight who have contributed a tremendous amount to that growth. And we'd like to thank you very much. Kevin, I was thanking him for the manner in which he has gotten my story down on paper. And I think, Kevin, I'm very appreciative of your brilliant writing and the way your ability to get a story across. I'm sure each and every one of you, when you read it, will be able to agree with my words. And it was a pleasure to work with you, Kevin, and I look forward to many happy days on our memories ahead. I would like to thank my daughter, Karen, for she has been brilliant to me, and particularly since the lockdown, because Kevin wasn't able to come up in the latter 5-6 chapters of the book to us, and up to that he was coming every few weeks, and we were making it. It's a little bit more difficult, but Karen stepped in, did all the typing, all the proofreading, and the changes. And after lockdown, I appreciate it very much what Karen and Peter, her husband, have done. So thank you very much, Karen. So I'd like to thank each and every one of your attendance tonight. Most of you, I have had a lot of happy memories of working with you and at various sports meetings. And a lot of it's great to see a lot of people here tonight. Some of you starting to get a little bit of grey hair on the head and that. But I can recall when you were juniors, 18, 19 years of age. But that's the way nature goes for each and every one of us. And I say, just looking down straight in front of here, I see Neil Cusick. So Neil, it's great, welcome and great to see you. You have put our sport very much on the international map in the early days of BLE. And there's a lot more here that same remark would apply to. And I'd like to, each and every athlete that goes out on the track or a cross-country course or to throw or jump or whatever it is, you've all done exceptionally well in helping to build the nation of Ireland. And I think as a result, we're a healthier nation. And I think I need to keep going in that field. I think we'll all, as a country, our sport will develop more. I'm really appreciative of the great friends which I have over the years who are present. Thank you very much for coming. And I trust that we'll enjoy the rest of the evening, because I'm sure I've noticed.
Hi, Ronnie. I'm hoping you are.
I've noticed already that you are great mixing tonight. I heard some of the stories as I moved around. So enjoy the night and the rest of the evening. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ronnie. Could we stand up and give Ronnie a standing ovation? Thank you. Thank you. We're now going to have words from another great sporting icon of Irish sport, John Tracy.
Everyone, it's lovely to have the opportunity to address you all this evening. I'm delighted to support Ronnie in launching this fantastic book, and Ronnie has had a fantastic career in the sport, especially around the sport of running. And as I remarked, Ronnie is a very, very enthusiastic Limerick man, and very proud of all the achievements of the Limerick athletes down through the years, as he was with all of us that achieved for Ireland as well. And I think Ronnie had the speed record between Limerick and Jones's Road in Dublin as well, for all his meetings in Dublin for BLE down through the years. So look, I just want to wish Ronnie the very, very best, and the family the very, very best. It's a fantastic achievement, a fantastic career, and I'm just delighted to have the opportunity to wish Ronnie the very best, and congratulations to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Now we come to the newest saint in Ireland, Saint Kevin McCarthy, who put together Ronnie's memoirs over the last 2 years. We've all listened to Ronnie about his book, and I genuinely didn't believe it would happen, but it took a guy like Kevin McCarthy to co-author the writing of Ronnie's memoirs, and I'd like to call on Kevin to say a few words about the book. Thank you.
Sir. Thanks, everyone. I'll start by admitting that I don't have an ounce of Limerick in me. I'm from 5 miles away from John Tracy in Cappoquin, County Waterford. That said, I will say that some of my earliest and best sporting memories are associated with Limerick. The first Munster final I was ever brought to was the day Richie Bennis scored a famous 70 in the last minute against Tipperary. I remember playing in the Fail and Gale final in '74 over in the pitch across the way there as well for Cappoquin. I know Ronnie for, it's nearly 20 years, Ronnie, it's scary, but I started doing some fairly heavy research on the Irish involvement in the Olympics prior to independence. And several people told me that I needed to talk to 3 people before I do anything else. One was the late Larry Ryder, whose daughter-in-law, in actual fact, I worked with in the Department of Education. Another was Cyril White, and the third was Ronnie Long. And the first day I met Ronnie, I did, mind you, I knew nothing about this driving situation, but I did make the brave decision that I would do the driving. And in actual fact, that has been the way. Every time we've met, I've been driving. But Ronnie, I'm willing to risk it if you're willing to take me someday. But the first day I met Ronnie was the first time I held an Olympic gold medal in my hand. We went down to Athay, if I'm right, Ronnie, and Tim Ahern from 1908. We held the medal in our hands. And it's been an absolute ball. Every time I've met Ronnie, I have met Michael Carruth. I met him one day with Ronnie. At the late Anthony Foley, I met him another day with Ronnie. Incredible Eamon Coughlin, John Tracy, all these people. Not to mind, if you have the temerity to walk along the street in Limerick and think that you're going to get from A to B in the time you thought you were going to get there, with Ronnie beside you, you might as well forget it. There are more people in Limerick who will stop Ronnie and have a chat with him than I would in Cappoquin, to be honest with you. It's incredible to see how many people know him. I suppose one of the fascinating things that we had to do with the book is that it hasn't been on the go for 20-something years. We actually did the draft in 8 months, believe it or not. What I'm really proud of is that we did that during COVID, and we never broke a COVID regulation. If I was allowed to come with the inter-county travel ban, I came. If I wasn't, thanks be to God, Karen was there as well. But if I wasn't, we did it over the phone. And you know, it wasn't rocket science. My job with Ronnie, and I warned him, we never fell out. I think we can say that. We never had a row. But I did warn him, Ronnie, if you've told me this before, I'm going to stop you, and I'm going to tell you that, and we're going to go to something else. And I put a structure on things for him. But other than that, this is Ronnie's take on everything. So if anybody wants to sue Ronnie's book, okay, not mine, all right? But it was a fascinating insight into the life of somebody, the politics, the social history. I suppose coming from Cappoquin, I had an insight into what happened to the bacon industry as well, and getting the Matterson story echoed so much with my own family story and so on as well. The phone conversations were hilarious very often, because I would start with a set of questions that I wanted to ask Ronnie, and by question 2 we'd be gone off on a tangent on something else entirely. But luckily I kept typing while I had Ronnie on speakerphone, and after an hour I could have had 2,000 words of stuff from Ronnie on, we'd say, life during World War II or something like that. So then I'd go off and do a little bit more research, and I'd come back to him and say, what about this, Ronnie? What about that? And like every one of us, we think we don't remember things. And in Ronnie's case, it was incredible, because something small that I might mention or that would come up in conversation would jog the memory, and we'd be back in Killaloo in the 1940s and remembering all sorts of, travelling to school in the postman's van and things like that, that you wouldn't remember consciously. But once we started the work, it actually became very, very easy, and it's a credit to Ronnie's memory, to be honest with you. I was lucky in that the name Ronnie Long is kind of findable on the internet, so it was easy enough to go looking through newspaper articles using the online database. I mean, I was able to find Ronnie Long, aged 21, taking on the National Athletics Administrators because they failed to recognise Ronnie Delaney's win in Melbourne 1956. I was able to find Ronnie Long being banned from the athletics organisation because he tried to find £200 to help send Jim Hogan to the European Championships. There's incredible stuff. And you come back to Ronnie with this evidence, and then he'll add more from the, he'd remember other things, Luckily, thanks be to God, Karen, for the Christmas decorations, because last December, rooting through the attic for Christmas decorations, Karen found a box of other stuff, documents and memorabilia from '79 particularly, that was very, very useful as well, So it was a great kind of almost an archaeological job at times in putting the thing together in that respect, It was great to speak with so many people who worked with Ronnie in the radio or who knew Bernie through the women's movements and so on as well. And it just was a matter of trying to cobble everything together then into a structure. I did have to break it to Ronnie earlier that if anybody wants to Google the name Ronnie Long now, he's only the second most famous Ronnie Long, because the most famous is a guy who got out of jail last, I think, October, after 44 years for a crime he didn't commit. So Ronnie, you got off lightly. You're doing okay. I've mentioned Karen. We couldn't have done this. I mean, it was a sort of a three-prong approach. Me down in Cappoquin, on the phone with Ronnie, typing stuff up, sending it to Karen, seeing what Ronnie could add to it, checking it back again, and so on. So we actually managed to get it together reasonably well. One of the jobs I had was to check the facts where I could. As I say, if we got stuff wrong, not being from Limerick, I've still felt, even when we finished the book, that if I knew County Limerick more, I probably would have had more questions for Ronnie. We went for a drive down to Newcastle West and at Tay the other day, and he was remembering stuff in the car that would have been fabulous to insert in the book, and it was just because we were passing such and such a place, So there's a little bit of that nagging me still that we probably could have got more, but we got 71,000 words out of it, out of the memoir, so it wasn't too bad. One of the funniest memories that I went off and checked was when Ronnie told me that he remembered sitting beside a swimming pool in Rome, sunbathing, and chatting with Marita Cook, the East German 400 metres still world record holder officially. And I'm there and I'm saying, I better check this. So first of all, Ronnie thought it was the European Championships in '73. So I said, I have him. Marita Cook couldn't have been taking part in those World Championships. He was only 15. So I'm back to Ronnie. He was stumped. He was absolutely stumped for a while. He says, it was definitely her, he says. So, I mean, trust me, if I was chatting up a woman by the swimming pool, I would remember who it was and when it was and everything else. So I was getting worried about him, okay? And then I said to myself, right, the next time there was a championships in Rome was about 14 or 15 years later. But she was injured that time. She never took part. So I'm really stumped now. And it was purely and simply that I was having a conversation with Brendan Mooney of the Irish Examiner, just about Ronnie and his memories and so on. And out, completely unrequested, came the mention of, and Brendan said to me, he said, over the phone, he said, those East German women were mad about Ronnie. So the reality was, it was true, because East German athletes were completely discouraged from practicing their English with American or British athletes because they were NATO and so on. Whereas Ireland was harmless, Ireland was safe. All I'm worried about now is that there could be a bevy of middle-aged former female athletes in eastern parts of Germany who were going around saying things to each other like, abide the kid. And if anybody finds somebody like Marita Cook or Heike Drexler walking the streets of Limerick looking for Donkey Ford's, the Michelin-starred restaurant, you'll know who probably put the idea in their heads, okay? I'm a little bit peeved about all the references to Ronnie's driving, to be honest with you. I think I need to defend him. And Ronnie doesn't know this, by the way, but one source that I checked after the book, there's a reference in the book to Ronnie travelling from Limerick to Galway in his early days as a rep with Matterson's and giving a spin to a young fella who was going to UCG at the time. And in actual fact, I went and I checked, and that young fella got involved in the Connacht Athletics Board for a while afterwards. But I managed to track down his address. It wasn't rocket science, trust me. And I just sent a message to the information email address to say, listen, I'm working with a man on his memoirs, and he says that he used to drive you to Galway when you were a student and so on. And, you know, we're launching the book, and I just wonder, would you have anything to say? So this is what came back. Within 2 hours of me sending the email, please convey to Ronnie my very best wishes. I do want to congratulate him on the launch of his autobiography. Whatever we can achieve now or in the future owes so much to people like Ronnie Long, who saw the importance of athletics and sport when resources were scarce and perceptions of its importance were slow. Burr Bannett, Michael D. Higgins. Ronnie, congratulations.
Thanks, Kevin. I don't know what we can say to you, Kevin. Just thank you to bring Ronnie's memories in book form that we can all enjoy and appreciate, and future generations can use as a source for Limerick sport, Irish athletics. So well done, Kevin. We're indebted to you. We now have a word or two from Pearse Coughlin, a very high-ranking world athletics official who's been a very close friend of Ronnie's, I say, for 30 years.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Pearse O'Callaghan. I'm the head of competition management with World Athletics, and it's a great honour and a great privilege for me to be asked to say a few words on a very special night tonight, the launch of The Long Road, the story of Ronnie Long, and a story which has been a long time in writing, but also a story which needed to be told to share the details of a great man, and I wouldn't even say a great man, more so a force of nature within, first of all, Limerick sport and Munster sport, but further afield in Irish athletics and even further afield. Ronnie's story reads like a social history of Ireland from his early days with Matterson's, in Limerick and Galway and up along the west coast of Ireland, through to the influence he had in Limerick athletics during the 1970s and the Frank O'Maras and the Tim Crows and the Kieran Finns and all these great Limerick athletes, and they won National League titles and team titles right through to the 80s. And I remember he had the treaty celebrations, obviously the World Cross Country in Limerick, I should say, in 1979. And then he brought a Russian team shortly after the Soviet Union broke up to Limerick in 1991, and they also had a cross country event in Limerick, which was live, which was on RTE. And then, of course, he went on to become president of Irish Athletics and really add value. And I think the most important trait that lands in Ronnie's book is his ability to help people, from the Frank O'Maras right down to the young athletes in Limerick, whether he was driving them around the country or giving them advice or trying to steer them on the road. Ronnie has always been there to help people. And I can say, even especially for myself, Ronnie put me onto the Athletics Ireland Records and Statistics Committee when I was 17 years of age. I hadn't even done my leaving cert. And obviously I'm now working at World Athletics, and I would put a lot of credit to what I've been able to do to Ronnie Long, and the belief he showed in me, and the help he gave me, and the advice he gave me. And of course, we all know Ronnie wouldn't be shy in telling you when you're not doing a great job either, but that's all part and parcel of a life. So Ronnie, I wish you good luck with the book. I think it's a great addition to the library of not only Irish athletics but Irish sport. Your story is a fascinating story. I know all your children are very proud of you, and all the athletes who ever got in touch with you, from Olympic team manager in 1976 right throughout the 80s. Nobody's a bad word to say about you, Ronnie. They're all very, very positive about you. You deserve every bit of praise and success you get. And I want to say from the bottom of my heart, Ronnie, thank you very much. And I'm really sorry I can't be with you in Limerick tonight. I'm in Monaco. I'm not back till midnight tonight. Otherwise, I'll be there. But thank you so much, Ronnie, and the best of luck for the launch.
Thank you, Piers. Our next speaker is an iconic our next speaker is an iconic sportsman in Irish sporting history who's come all the way from Dublin tonight to honour Ronnie, Eamon Coughlin. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Ladies and gents, it's a great honour to be in Limerick tonight to celebrate the long road by, as I always call them, Ronnie Long. But Ronnie, it's a true testimony to you and your contribution to athletics and your family and sports, going back to the 50s when you first got involved in some. Oh, we got. It's a great testimony with all the people who are here tonight. It's the biggest book launch in the world that I've ever been at. Well done, Ronnie. How much did you pay everybody? But I wasn't sure if I was going to make it down or not because I was on the flat of my back from last Saturday through Wednesday. I wasn't in the mood of doing a little video. And on Wednesday, I felt so guilty when I felt a little better again that I made contact with Barry to say, Barry, I'm going to come down. Because Ronnie Long and my father, Bill, go back a long time, a long and winding road. And I felt that it was really important to be down here to honour this great gentleman. You know, when you grow up in life, you have people who mean something to you, whether it's a parent, whether it's a neighbour, whether it's a coach, whether it's a mate. Sometimes they can strike a chord with you and you learn an awful lot from them and they inspire you an awful lot. Well, Ronnie Long was one of those officials in athletics that really inspired and helped a lot of us guys as we came through our career. Now, Ronnie, when you got involved in athletics, I was only 2 years old, right? Roger Bannister had just run the first ever sub-4-minute mile. My father, Bill, was in athletics when he was a young teenager. And when he got married, and I had 5 of us, he fell out of the sport. And then when I was 11, 12 years of age, I entered the sport. And my father re-engaged his involvement with the sport. That's how I met Ronnie Long as a young 12, 13-year-old. And throughout those years, you didn't know what way to take Ronnie. Because when he'd come up and have a chat with you, Jesus, you couldn't get rid of him. But he came with excitement, he came with enthusiasm, and he came as one of the athletes official all those years. He looked after the weaker guys, the athletes, all the time. He was my team manager in 1994 in Rome at the European Championships. I didn't even get the qualifying time, but I wanted to be there with Danny McDade, Neil Cusick, Tony Walsh, who are actually here tonight. And while I didn't get the qualifying time, some of the officials recognised that have maybe a little bit of talent and that the experience in Rome might help to raise the bar for Coughlin. I got to Rome thanks to Ronnie. I didn't get out of the heats, but at least I felt what it was like to be at a major championship, to be with Lasse Viren and Brendan Foster and some of the greats. And when I saw Neil and Danny and the lads running over there, I left Rome wanting to become now a champion of some degree. What degree that was going to be, I don't know. I didn't know, but I knew I aspired to greatness. So the next championships 2 years later, who was my manager? Ronnie Long in Montreal in 1976. What an exciting Olympic Games. I went home crying, having finished fourth. But Ronnie was there to share the disappointment that I experienced and picked me up off the ground and said, keep on going. The next time I was involved in a major international event was the World Cross Country Championships here in Limerick, which my father and Ronnie and some of the gents who are here in the room even tonight were very much involved in putting it on. Ronnie did all the PR for that. Now, I've already read a few pages in your book, Ronnie, but I'm going to have to say I'm very disappointed in you tonight. You know why? While I broke the world record for the indoor mile, I think, in San Diego, I flew home to run in the Irish Championships. I finished 6th in multi-Farnham with muck up to me knees to qualify for the team. But you know what I read in the book tonight? Ronnie didn't vote for me to be on the team tonight on the World Cross Country Championships. And he said, but Eamon didn't really mind. But hey, Ronnie, I didn't even know that about you. But Ronnie, we had some great times. In 1970, I could be here all night. 1976, I'm 22 years of age. I was about to graduate from Villanova University in America. I just got engaged to my 20-year-old girlfriend. Think about this, right? And after the Olympics, where I finished fourth, I was in Germany and I was in Brussels and I don't know where I was. I was all over the place. But I think it was the national championships were on in the University of Limerick. And I came home to run in the national championships. And I flew from Germany early that Saturday morning. I ran in the heats, Ronnie, of the 1,500 metres. My father had come down from Dublin as one of the officials as well. And he brought my girlfriend with me, or with him. So when I ran the 1,500 metres, it was around 5 or 6 in the evening, I went back to the hotel room where I had reserved 2 rooms, a single and a double. So, lo and behold, I'm in the room. Guess which room? The double, with the 20-year-old fiancée. And we're just in there. There might have been a little hanky-panky. I don't know what was going on. But anyhow, there was, Eamon. Yeah, who's that? It's your dad. What do you want? I want to come into the room. I go, no, you're next door. Well, by God, he didn't talk to me for a week afterwards. But the next day, when the final of the 1,500 metres was on, and I duly ran and duly running, Ronnie Long came over to me. He knew my father was really in bad form with me, sleeping with my fiancée. And he says, don't worry about it, Eamon. He'll get over it. I had a good chat with him. And he got me out of trouble. Do you remember that, Ronnie? And then my last little story is in 1987 at the first ever World Indoor Championships in Indianapolis. There were 4 athletes. There was Frank O'Mara. There was Paul Donovan and Marcus O'Sullivan and myself. The only 4 that went there. And we came away with 3 medals at the World Championships. But my wife was sitting in the stands with Sean Naughton, who was Ronnie's coach at the occasion. And as the 1,500 metre heat, which I was running in, took place, I tripped after the half-mile mark and went flat down on my face, and the runners were gone. I got up and I ran 53 seconds. That's pretty fast for the third quarter of a 1,500 metre race. And I caught up with the boys. And coming off the last turn, I misjudged as we approached the finish line, and I was trying to get the Canadian guy that was in front of me. I misjudged. It was a white stake. I don't know what it was doing there, but it wasn't the finish line. And I misjudged and went over the stake and got knocked out and didn't make the final. Now, in the final, there were 10 women, and in the women's final, 1,500, and in the men's, there were 9. But I was knocked out of the race. Ronnie Long, for 24 hours, He hunted down IAAF officials. He hunted down the American officials because American television wanted Eamon Coughlin, the chairman of the boards, in the mile, in the 1,500 metres for American television. And Ronnie hunted and hunted. And then he tells me, Eamon, if you can prove Dieter Baumann knocked you down. I said, of course I can. Didn't I see the cuts on his shin bones from where I got spiked? He caught me. I went hunting Dieter Baumann down. And eventually at around 8 o'clock that Saturday night, the final I think was on the Sunday, I found Baumann and he said, no, I'm not going to admit that there was contact between you and me. You just happened to fall. That's it. I was out of the race. Ronnie Long continued to pursue the officials in the IAAF. So that evening, my wife, she was now my wife, by the way, I went out and I must have drank a gallon of beer because that's it. The World Championships were over. I was done and dusted with. Marcus was in the final. Frank was in his final. And Paul was in the 3,000 final as well. Anyhow, I was out on the terrace that night with a few friends, and next morning I woke up feeling absolutely dead with a hangover. Jesus, I couldn't even move. Next minute, Frank O'Mara comes knocking on the door. Hey, Coughlin, what? You're in the final. What? Yeah, Ronnie just told me he got you into the final. I go, I don't believe it. Yeah. Oh, I said, what am I going to do? I got into a hot bath for 20 minutes. I soaked, came out of the bath, toweled off, put on my Irish tracksuit, Ronnie, got into the bed, hoping that I would perspire more alcohol out of the system. About an hour later, I knock on the door. Eamon, bad news. You're not in the final. But he tried for 24 hours to do that for me. Marcus O'Sullivan proudly went on anyhow to win the first ever World 1,500 metre champions. But there's been many great stories with Ronnie. And the one thing that stands out more than anything else throughout the years is proof here tonight by all your presence. Ronnie Long gave his heart and soul to athletics. And as John Tracy said, he would have driven from Limerick to Dublin 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 times a week if he had to, because he always wanted to return to Bernie and the family. That's how committed he was to his family, and that's how committed he was to athletics. And Danny, on behalf of all us old-timers and some newcomers in our sport who are here tonight, I just want to say thank you very much for your contribution to athletics and for your friendship to all of us. We love you very much, and good luck with the long road. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Eamon. Kevin, your next book will be The Secret Life of Eamon Coughlin. We go on to another great sporting icon in Irish athletics who has a few words to say, Sonia.
Hi Ronnie, this is Sonia here. I just wanted to wish you all the best with the book launch tonight. I'm sure you'll have a great evening. No doubt the long road is filled with so much stories and all your experiences down through the years. I can remember all the times you were finding all the right gear for me over the years, and sorry you can't be there tonight to help you launch the book, but I'm sure you'll have lots of friends and family there to support you, and I look forward to reading the book when I'm back home at Christmas time. Take care and have a great evening.
Thanks very much, Sonia. Isn't it wonderful tonight to have Frank O'Mara, Eamon Coughlin, Sonia, John Tracy, Pearse O'Callaghan, and all the here to honour Ronnie. It's some collection of stars in Irish athletics, so well done to everybody. We're coming to the end, so I'd like to call on Barry on behalf of the family to say a few words.
I just, literally a few words, guys. Just want to thank everyone for coming tonight. I was, myself and Karen were organising tonight. To find a venue proved to be very difficult. And I'd just like to, first of all, thank UL Sport for supporting the night. We were really trying hard to have it in UL to mark Dad's involvement. So, Alan, I think you captured it very well there in your words. So Nessa kindly offered to sponsor the night for us. So just a big round of applause for UL Sport. And I'd just like to thank Tim as well for, and a lot of the speakers mentioning my mother. Bernie, unfortunately, looking down on us there, couldn't be here with us. Unfortunately, she was taken too early. But Ronnie and Bernie were a duo, and each of them really were the yin and yang of each other. I suppose, you know, in one way, if Bernie was here, Ronnie mightn't have made it, because the writing of the book, certainly, Dad was constantly talking about it and constantly remembering various different stories. There's lots of stories I didn't know about. I didn't know about the International Badminton Umpire. I got some great stories about cycling, which is a sport I have a great love for. And now my youngest son Hugo is hopefully going to take up the cycling mantle and make something of it. But there was lots of stories and lots of love in when I've been talking to people about the book, and everyone that came here tonight. Like we've nearly filled the room. So I want to thank each and every one of you. Some of you travelled a long distance to be here. Eamon, you even came out of your sick bed to come down here. So we really do appreciate it. I think Karen, Alan and I wouldn't be the people we are without our parents. Tim unfortunately pointed out one of our faults. We really can't keep quiet when we have an opinion, but I think we actually learned that from our parents. We were always told to be to basically stick up and stand up for what you believe in. And if you know Ronnie and you knew Bernie, you know that is them. So, you know, if you're going to if you're going to be in front, you know, and do something, do it, and don't sit in the background. I think that's Ronnie's the way that Ronnie lives his life, and I think we're all indebted to what he's done in athletics and elsewhere. But Ronnie, I'd just like to say Ronnie isn't limited to just sport. I think that's a very important part of his life, but I think his contribution to life in Limerick has been immense over the years, hence the amount of people here tonight. So again, thank you to everyone. Thanks to all the contributors to the book. Thanks to all those late phone calls, those people having to read the book over and over again. It really all helped. So again, thanks for everyone coming tonight.
Hi, Ronnie. I'm hoping you're having a great evening there for the launch of the memoir. Very, very best of luck with it. There's nobody better to write a memoir over the last 50, 60 years of what has been an extraordinary career that you've had, and your volunteerism has been just something to behold. And I know that I had the great privilege of presenting you, or certainly the citation that I did for you at the Lifetime Achievement Award that you won at the Athletics Awards back in 2013. We know each other about 40 years, because I remember my first encounter, which was, I think I was working for the Daily News, a newspaper that's now defunct, a tabloid newspaper. I had a tricky query. It was about 1982, and I was a very green journalist, and I rang you. I eventually got through the Matterson switchboard and spoke to the PRO of BLE. I was very nervous, but you were very charming, and it was supposed to be a brief query, but 20 minutes into it, you knew all about me, and I knew nothing about you. But eventually, you answered the question. I got my quote, and we became friends, I think, over the years. And we have had so many conversations, be it in mucky fields, at national cross countries, or international sporting events and international athletic events, of course. And you've been team manager and organising committee member of big things like the World Cross Country, the Montreal Olympic team. I know that's before my time somewhat. But over the years, you have been a touchstone of great wisdom and conversation, and certainly real facts. Your knowledge of the sport is absolutely encyclopedic. And I know that when it came to the 2013 Lifetime Achievement Award, and I had the citation to do, I was drawing on lots of research in knowing what to say about you. But I also wanted to put something personal in there as well. And I think I said, the light is undimmed in a luminous, sincere personality that lives and breathes the sport and has done so for over half a century. I think that was when you were about a mere 79 years of age. I know you're 86 years of age now, and the light is still undimmed. Hope you have a great evening. The memoir is a fabulous read Frank O'Mara's foreword is hilarious, but gets you right on the button. And I just really wish you luck with it. About time, but it's a great, great read. Good luck this evening.
Thanks very much, Greg. Now we come to the highlight of the evening, which is the launch officially of Ronnie's memoirs by the President of Athletics Ireland, John Crone.
Thank you, Tim. I'd just like to thank Ronnie and the Long family for this opportunity to actually launch the book. It's a great honour for me, a privilege. I've known Ronnie a long time. And also I feel it's a privilege to our association, which I represent, having been elected president last May. I'm very proud to wear the chain. Ronnie's name is on it. He served his time in the office. And also Eamon's late father, Bill, wore the chain proudly as well. And it was probably the first time I ever saw the chain was on Bill. They say, I think Tim was saying, you know your personality by your driving. In my case, many of my friends think I get parking tickets while I drive. So probably complete opposite to Ronnie. It's very appropriate. Limerick is Ronnie's town, and I'm proud to be here representing the Athletics Ireland for the sport. He spent a lot of his life supporting, and a huge contribution. And out here we have another big love of his life was Munster rugby, Limerick rugby, and Irish rugby. So it's great to be here in Thomond Park. I've great memories of Limerick from my short competitive career. A lot of people, huge amount of international stars, both on the screen and both on the floor here. But out in what's the track now in UL, I won my one and only national title as a 16-year-old in 1976, and the 800 meters. And Frank and his great friend Tommy Maloney had a great battle for gold and silver in the 3000. Later on, in my first year at college in Galway, I was on the winning UCG team, and I was delighted to meet one of my teammates' daughters here tonight, Fiona O'Shea, daughter of Eugene O'Shea and niece of Mick O'Shea. And I'm delighted to report that UCG won the cross country again 2 weeks ago, so I'm no longer a member of the last squad that won it. Two further short Limerick stories are in October 1978, myself and a friend in Galway decided I told the story to Ronnie, we decided we'd head down to what is now famous match between Munster and the All Blacks, and we got as far as the bus station, and somehow whatever happened, we didn't make it. So to my eternal regret, I was not one of that 500,000 that was in Thomond Park that day. But just a few short months later, I was delighted to be on the 25th of March 1979. I was delighted to be in Green Park Racecourse along with another 500,000 that were there. And I see some of the heroes of that day: Danny McDaid, the captain, John Tracy was on the video. Donny is here as well, and of course Eamon came back from the States, as he already elaborated. So that was fantastic, and that was a tribute to Ronnie and his cohorts at the time. I see Bernie Hartigan here as well. The huge, one of the greatest days in Irish athletic history, and I was proud to witness it. And it's fantastic to see so many of the team here, and of course the other members around that day as well. Deirdre Nagel is in the house as well, and forgive me if I leave anybody out. And around that time, Limerick was a hotbed of running, and I see Neil down here in front of me, and so many more, Mick O'Shea, Robert Costello and the whole lot, and Tim here, and athletes already mentioned, and that's largely due to the great work that Ronnie put in. So, and really, it was proven by the success of Limerick at the time. How I met Ronnie, I can't fully remember, but it was around the late 70s when I was a student in Galway, and I would see Ronnie probably on his duties and his work life walking down the street, and I would stop him and we'd have a chat. Some of them were short, most of them were quite long, living up to his name, but in all cases they were very enjoyable. Later on, in my adopted hometown of Tullamore, Ronnie was a feature at many of the events in Tullamore Harriers. And on the walls of Tullamore Harriers is a picture of Noel Gowan, a good friend of Ronnie's, who won the National Marathon Championship, and he was the first Irishman under 2 hours 30. And in that picture with Noel finishing, standing at the finishing line, is a picture of a very young Ronnie Long in a long overcoat. And anybody who passed that picture would always point, that's Ronnie Long. So poor Noel didn't get the same credit. So Ronnie himself, the good news for everybody is that a lot of the ground is covered, so I won't be too much longer. But Ronnie himself is one of those unique individuals who has devoted his life to his family, as very evident, to his job, which is also evident, and to many sports that he got involved in. He's a unique individual, but he's also a member of a team of unique individuals from that generation who put in a huge effort in their lives on a voluntary basis. So he's, as I said, he's unique, and I'm not sure if the next generations will produce as many, but we hope we will. So Ronnie has done a tremendous service to our sport. He served as president. He's now a life vice president. And as Greg mentioned, he got the Lifetime Achievement Award in 2013. Ronnie, for many years, probably since the 50s, was a feature at all our championships. And unfortunately, for the last 2 years, he missed those due to the COVID regulations. But next year, we're hoping, given COVID and everything else has gone away, we're hoping to have the 150th National Championships, the longest consecutive national championships held in the world. And Ronnie, we'll be delighted to see you there. So, and just notice there on the cover, it's very appropriate that Ronnie is holding 2 out of 3 items. The pen, very active with the pen over the years, covered a lot of ground as a PRO, promoting our sport and other sports, and then moved on to other medias and the walkie-talkie. So Ronnie, as everybody knows, is fond of talking, but it's always very welcome to have a conversation with him. The book, congratulations to Kevin and Karen and all the team who put it together. The way Kevin described it, I'm sure it was a joy. It sounded like a joy. You could feel the fun coming out of it, going through all those things. And it's, as well as an autobiography or a biography, the word that's been bandied around is a social history. It's a social history of our time, you know, so there's so many aspects that it covers. I'm just coming to the end now, and it's fantastic to see the turnout here tonight. Many generations, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more as well, only for the COVID situation. So we see from the young athletes all the way back several generations. So it's fantastic to see that. Okay, well done congratulations to Ronnie and the book. And his family, Karen, Barry and Alan. I didn't know Bernie as well as I should have, didn't meet her as often, but I felt I knew her very well because Ronnie always worked her into the conversation. So I knew how close he was to her and she was to the family. So it's a great pleasure to be able to launch the book, and I think there's two words that come to mind about Ronnie, and they were given to me by another person who is in the PRO business as well, and that he's left a huge footprint behind him in his life and in the various sports and everywhere he's touched, and he's left a huge legacy behind him as well. So it's my pleasure to formally launch the book, and congratulations, Ronnie, and best wishes in the future and in volume 2. Thank you.
It's official now, so Barry wants to say a word.
Yeah, this is just to let you know, we've organised a small bit of food. I'm sure you're famished at this stage at the back. So if you'd like to stay around and mingle for a bit, we're just going to take some photographs at the UL backdrop here. So we'd love you to queue up or just organise yourselves to have some photographs taken with Ronnie tonight. We'd be delighted to do that. So again, just a little bit of food at the back, and you can stay up here and Dad can stay up for photographs. All right, thank you. Thanks, Tim.
So finally, to bring it to a conclusion, congratulate Ronnie, but also I'd like to thank him on behalf of us all to bring us together for a chat, to meet each other again after such a long gap for most of us. So take the opportunity to mingle, and I'd like to wish you safe home, and if you happen to be passed on a bend, it's probably Ronnie passing you out, so safe home. Thank you.